title to become a leader, and you don't stop leading also once or growing once you're in that position. So a leader is someone that takes initiative to grow, to add value to their own life, to the business, to others. And I would just encourage everyone to take a look at what can you do, in your actions today or in your plan to be a leader in whatever way that is.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Rise to Leadership podcast, a weekly show that explores topics that matter while sharing stories of inspiring leaders who are creating positive changes. I'm so excited to lead this conversation today with Cristina Falcone. I invited her today because I've known her for quite a while, and she's very passionate about empowering women professionals and entrepreneurs. She has dedicated her time and resources to mentor women, and she supports Rise and Lead Women in various ways. So today, we're going to discuss her journey to the top slots, what kind of support she received on her rise, and what tips she has for women who want to get to the top slots in leadership. She will also tell us briefly about how UPS is driving gender diversity in Europe. Cristina Falcone is the Vice President of Public Affairs for UPS Europe. She has held several management roles in product management, small business development, customer loyalty, and public relations. Based in Brussels, she leads the strategy and execution of UPS public affairs activities across Europe, advocating effective policies that benefit European businesses, communities, and consumers. We are all advocating for gender parity during this Women's History Month because gender equality has so many benefits, such as increased innovation, creativity, and better business results. The question is how we as women can stop taking the back seat and instead take matters into our hands and rise to leadership. Christina is also an executive sponsor for the UPS Millennials and UPS Brussels Women's Leadership Development. She mentors aspiring young professionals from several countries across Europe. She will also share with us how sponsorship and mentorship can be used as tools for leadership advancement. So if you're tuning in today and want to level up your leadership to the top slots, you need to stay with us till the end. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. Uh, for those watching live and for those listening on the podcast channel, send your questions to program@riseandleadwomen.com. So I'm going to welcome Christina now to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you, Very. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you today.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited to have you here with me today.
I'm thrilled to be here. I love these conversations, and your network is just doing great things to empower women. So proud to be part of this podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Christina, I'd love to start by hearing your personal story. Your journey to the top in UPS has been very consistent. You joined UPS in 2000, I believe, and you held several posts along the line. My question to you is, did you ever dream of becoming the Vice President of Public Affairs UPS? Can you tell me the backstory on how you've gotten to where you are today in your career?
Sure, I'd be happy to share that with you. So yes, I started with UPS in 2000, just right out of university, quite young. And when I started UPS, I never really dreamed of building my career here. To be honest, I didn't think that I would end up in this role here in Europe. My goal really was to work for UPS for 1 year, get some experience, and then move on to an advertising agency or a firm that focused on communications. However, one thing that I feel is a personal trait that influenced the shift in these plans was my curiosity. I was fascinated very quickly when I was able to participate in meetings which were beyond my immediate capacity of work. And then I was really able to learn more about the business. And around the same time, UPS was actually making acquisitions into buying new types of companies like logistics and supply chain management, offering capital. And I realized then that this was quite a fascinating industry, which touched all aspects of the supply chain. And so a small fire started burning in me to learn more about this industry. Also being exposed to various role models, as well as the values of the organization, I realized very quickly that this was a company that really aligned to my personal values, and it had the type of people that I would want to work with or to be like in the future, and where I would want to spend my time and contribute. So curiosity, I would say, was the first stepping stone, because it really opened my mind to be open to learning new things versus being so narrow in focus. And then also setting personal goals, came after that, and securing opportunities to work my way towards achieving them. I knew that we were a global company, but and I knew I wanted to be a vice president one day. But of course, was all those stepping stones along the way that enabled me eventually to be in this role that I have right now in Europe, which I would say right now has been my dream job across the 21 years that I've had.
Wow, that's very powerful. So curiosity, I've heard a lot of leaders say that over and over again, and also your personal goals. And of course, during the Rise to Leadership program, which I teach, leadership development program, we talked a lot about vision, setting your goals to get onto that top slot. It makes it easier for you to work your way to get there than not having goals at all. And curiosity is also a topic I've heard a lot, but how do people develop this curiosity, style of leadership?
I mean, I think first of all, it's just a matter of being open-minded to start with, right? And I think it's also diversifying what do you expose yourself to, and being open to that, right? So someone said, you want to come into this meeting, I could have said, well, no, because it doesn't have to do with my immediate job. But I was quite open to that, because I had this curiosity type of mindset. I still try to do the same thing today, because we never stop growing, and the curiosity still has to be fostered. So I still do that today in terms of being open to speaking with different people, maybe people outside of my field, making connections, absorbing different types of media or communications. And I think it just starts with an open mind, and taking a look at, who's in your network, who could you expose yourself to before saying no, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. You have to be curious. You have to try to learn different things, even outside of your immediate job role. Thanks for sharing that. My next question is, on your rise to the top, what has been your biggest challenge, and how have you been able to overcome them?
Well, I think first of all, coming in, because I came in, quite young and inexperienced, the first challenge or obstacle that I had to overcome was this type of imposter syndrome. I was quite young in comparison to others in management, which is where I wanted to be. I felt somewhat insecure and wondered why I was being even assigned certain projects. I was worried about being able to execute them to expectations. But I think it was, encouragement of managers who helped to propel the confidence that I had in me. And once I got some of those wins under my belt, starting small, that helped to give me the confidence to realize that I always had the aptitude to excel, but I needed to continue focus on building my competence and skill set, through experience, and also being very open to feedback. I
Mm.
think that's something that I learned along the way to ask for feedback, because that was a way that I could grow. I was also quite, shy at first. When I first started, I always was comfortable with giving presentations, but let's say I was not so comfortable in building a network, let's say with staff or management leaders that could really help to propel me in my career, and that was a deficit for me. So I tried to observe others that were very good at this, and take a look at their behavior and how they would do that, and just try to in my own way, by being authentic to myself, how I could push myself out of my comfort zone to just be myself, right? And to build some of these connections. And
Mm.
then thirdly, an obstacle, I guess what I saw first was my self-limiting belief that perhaps I could only do communications, or that was my area of expertise. And then I realized quickly in this company, to excel, they really want you to understand the business. So
Wow.
I had to challenge myself to say, you know what, I have to see if I can do this. I need to challenge myself and see, can I put myself forward for a role that's outside of the box that I feel quite comfortable with, to learn, and can I stretch myself? And until I was able to overcome that obstacle, but both internally and in the competence, that's what helped me again to open up doors to move on to leadership roles.
Wow, that's so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing. And of course, I believe our audience, you're listening and you're taking some notes. For those of you who want to get to the top slot, we can only advocate, but I mean, we have to do something about it to get there. So, Christina, my next question to you is the theme for the International Women's Day 2021 was choose to challenge. So, what have you chosen to challenge during this Women Equality Month?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm choosing to challenge accepting circumstances from holding women back from achieving their potential for success and fulfillment. So, for example, I was the first in my family to obtain a university degree and to work in a corporate role. And I truly believe that the circumstances or your history don't have to shape your future, right? Even the certain circumstances that we're in right now. I'm making a personal commitment to helping to support women that have ambitions to grow, and those that are in vulnerable situations to tap into the potential to be the best that they can be. So, for example, COVID has affected society across the board, but also women in a disproportionate rate. So
Yeah.
one thing that UPS is doing is, working to provide training for women entrepreneurs to grow their business, on how to tap into the e-commerce market to really grow and succeed, because that's one thing during the COVID pandemic that we've seen grow is e-commerce. So I'm going to take personal role in helping to expand this program here in Europe. Also doing some mentorship of women that are very early in their careers, because right now it's difficult to network. They can't go out to events. So, working, meeting with them digitally to provide some advice as they're beginning their careers, helping to perhaps connect them with others. And then, of course, looking at doing some work with Rise and Lead, in the program that the network is also involved with in targeting women that are vulnerable to human trafficking, and helping to give them the business skills to succeed. So I think just working to help empower women and help them to realize that their circumstances don't have to be accepted, that they can achieve success. And that's the same thing for women within our company that are working from home and maybe struggling, and how to build their connectivity and network, and choosing to challenge that, letting be the status quo, and helping them to continue on their growth and their pursuit.
That's very, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I know that a lot of work that UPS is doing to empower women, small business owners. And, so, but here now we just want to also see how we can help women who want to get to the top slot in leadership, also in workplaces, as well as in business. And you mentioned something about mentorship, I've heard a lot about mentorship. Almost every leader I interviewed have attributed their career advancement to some kind of mentorship or sponsorship. And of course, I also read a report that says mentorship provides employees the knowledge and confidence to succeed in their roles. Because a recent study by American Society for Training and Development shows that 75% of senior executives say that mentors help them to reach the top level. But my question to you first, before you tell us if mentorship has helped you or not, is what is the difference between mentorship and sponsorship?
Yes, I mean, I would say for me, I take a look at mentorship almost like having a personal coach or a sounding board. It's someone that can provide another perspective. They help you define where your passions and strengths are through a two-way relationship. They listen and ask questions. It's really a two-way dialogue that helps you grow. They can give advice, but they also help you to become your personal best if you both put in an effort towards that. A sponsor, on the other hand, I see more as an enabler in your career. It's someone that can help to connect you with others. It's someone that can help to open doors. It's your advocate, really, that can make a real difference. So both of them obviously very, very beneficial. I can say I've benefited from both of those, but in very different ways, and both equally important, I think.
Yes, okay. Can you tell us more about that? How have you benefited from both mentors and sponsors in your career journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody has blind spots, right? So if you are open and willing to grow and understand where those blind spots are, having a mentor that you trust, fully, that you're willing to seek and receive that feedback can really help, right? So, I've had some of them before that really trusted them, and sometimes they tell me things that maybe makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to hear, but it helped me to grow, right? And how I did it before, again, is I would observe people that I say I really admire, how they navigate this, or their leadership skills, or whatever it is, and then I would just foster a relationship with them,
Hmm.
really, and really by, first of all, starting by where I could deliver value, offering to help, on certain things, because often they were at levels that were above me, right? Because that's why I was able, also to learn from them. Now things have reversed. I have mentors who are much younger than me and have fewer years of experience, but are experts in other things. So just fostering that relationship, and really developing that quite naturally. I think most of the time that's happened for me. And then when that trust is there, I could seek to ask their perspective on me, on where I could have done better, let's say in a specific presentation or a conversation, or ask their advice. I'm in this situation, what do you think? But it all started with fostering trust and relationship.
Hmm.
The sponsorship, I think that, you also get, everyone has a responsibility for exposing themselves, right? So we often, expose ourselves to our direct manager, maybe to others, but the more exposure that you have of your work, that can also enable you to gain, more sponsors within the organization that see what you're capable of. Again, offering to help on something, because that's where you can deliver value, and then you can put your work into tangible observation from someone else that can maybe be the advocate for you. And I had that, even moving into the role that I have now. There was a few candidates that were under consideration that had longer tenure, but because I had a sponsor said, I really think that this person can do the role, and then they were my advocate with the hiring manager, right? And that's because I had a long history of offering to help that person on different projects that I didn't necessarily need to, or expose them to my work, right? And so that helped in the end to get me, entryway into a new function.
Wow, there is a lot to unpack here in what you've said. There's a lot of nuggets you've shared. But from what I'm hearing, you're saying that mentors help you more in your professional growth, while sponsors help to open the doors for you for career advancement, and that we need both of them, right? Uh,
Yes.
and I see a lot of people talk about formal mentoring relationships, which means some people said, I don't have a mentor because in my company, we don't have this formal mentoring program. What do you say about that? Did you
Yeah.
have to depend on formal mentoring programs to get mentorship?
You know, I think I've been in one formal mentorship program, but my strongest mentors have not come through a formal program. They were relationships that naturally developed. But I
Mm.
do say naturally developed, but we all can play a role in seeking them out. And I learned that as I got, I had more experience in my career where I had some internally, which naturally developed. But then I learned also to reach out externally and say, hey, I'd like to get your mentorship, on this specific item because I really value your expertise, as a customs and trade expert out there in the advocacy community. I've got this testimony coming up. Would you mind helping me out? And you'd be surprised that, the response is typically very, very positive. So some of them were shorter term, some of them were longer term. And I think that, if you're willing to be proactive about it, you don't need to wait around for a formal mentorship
Mm.
program. You can find those mentors on your own. And I think most people would be surprised at the response that you get when you actually go out and seek it and request it from people.
This is a very, very good point for, both professionals and also business owners. Because I remember when I was about to start my restaurant back home, and that was several years ago, I first of all had to approach all the restaurant owners who were successful, to talk to
Yes.
them about how they were doing, and how I could navigate the restaurant business, which was very helpful. And at this point, all of these people were men, because some people advocate for formal mentorship program because of we are in the era of Me Too movement. So everybody is afraid, when you see casual relationship between a man and a woman, people start thinking otherwise. Do you think we need to worry about that as women?
In terms of not having a formal mentorship.
Yes, like there's some school of thoughts who feel that informal mentorship can lead to the issue of Me Too issue.
um, Yeah, I mean, I think obviously this is a real concern, which is often held women and maybe even in men back from building that networking and that relationship, right? But I
Yeah,
mean, I think it's something that is unacceptable that we have to overcome, right? You do things in an environment where both people feel comfortable, and we will never get past that unless we foster these relationships, and mentorship relationships don't always have to be of the same gender orientation, right? I
yeah,
don't think that we should let that set
of
as a
course.
boundary as long as both people feel comfortable.
Exactly. And we can also set boundaries on how far we
Yes.
can go with such relationships. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Now, for some people watching or listening who may be struggling with finding the right mentor, how would you suggest our audience watching or listening go about finding a mentor?
I mean, I think, as I mentioned before, if you find someone, I mean, first it starts with what your plan is, right? What do you want to achieve? Where do you see, or maybe some of the gaps that you want to personally fill to get towards your goals? And then who do you observe around you that you feel could help you on the journey to overcome those obstacles or to address those gaps? Who do you admire that does something that you feel like you would love to get better at? And then work to foster the relationship with them, and perhaps reach out and ask them. I think that's a great way. But it only happens in terms of who you have accessible to you is who you have in your network.
Hmm.
So it also starts with expanding your network, being open to have a broad network, both internally and externally, and not just self-seeking. I mean, truly getting to know people so that you understand more about, let's say, your company if it's internally, externally about different topics, and then things can go from there, right? You just have more accessible for you to potentially access.
Yeah, I like the point you've just mentioned that we should expand our network even beyond our workplaces or business environment. Thanks for sharing that. And that's more about strategic relationships, which I think we need to talk about next time. Uh, so sometimes people confuse coaching, mentorship, training, and I still believe that training is very important for our career advancement. Do you think so? And what would you say is the most important training you've received that helped you in your leadership growth?
Yeah, I mean, I think training is extremely important. It's always important to keep growing, to keep your skills fresh. We should all be lifelong learners. It doesn't matter what level you're at, especially in today's economy, and that fuels your growth. I mean, you cannot grow a business or career if you're not growing at a personal level and investing in yourself to get the training that you need. I would say for me, one of the most impactful trainings that I underwent was actually a women's leadership development training that I completed a few years ago. And part of that was a special exercise that helped us to understand the tools to address the barriers that were holding us back from achieving, what it was that we or a barrier that we had in difficulty overcoming. There was also specific training on how to influence and lead others with compassion while also setting a vision. And what I also loved about this training is that it also gave me an ongoing network, which I still tap into now as a sounding board, to learn and share with. So for me, that was quite impactful because I had a couple of things that were lingering, for for a few years. I just can't overcome this. And through this exercise of understanding why, what is holding me back? What would be the worst thing if I tried something new, right? That was quite effective. And then I tried to put myself through training, as very regularly, so that I can continue to keep my tools sharp on the leadership side, but then also on the competency side for my specific work too. That's also quite critical.
Thanks for sharing that. We launched the Rise to Leadership program, which is a leadership development program for women to elevate their careers to top leadership. We are on our final module for today, tomorrow. And I remember during the first module of our Rise to Leadership program, I had mentioned to our esteemed participants that planning your personal leadership, starts with self-awareness, which involves knowing who you are, what values you bring to the table, and where you want to go. Do you think that self-awareness helped you to understand exactly what trainings you needed, what competencies you needed to develop, and also who to engage as a mentor or who to ask for support?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this was actually the self-awareness aspect was a big part of this training too, was that you to understand that, you have your skill sets that you display, but we're almost like an iceberg. There's so much underneath the surface that we really need to understand, what has impacted us, over the years of our career, perhaps even our upbringing, and then how to address those in a way that's going to help to take you forward, right? And I think that was a big part of it for me, was even learning how to challenge things when I feel strongly that there's a path that the business should take, right? And what was behind my hesitancy to do that before. Part of that was, let's say, was part of my upbringing, not to challenge those in superior roles because of the respect that was taught, growing up for elders, or example, right? But helping to address, if it's to support a business and you feel passionate about it, here's a great way to address that. So that self-awareness, I think, was a really eye opener for me on how to really develop myself into a strong leader by understanding myself, right?
Yeah. That's a good. Thank you. For me, it has also helped me a lot. It's more like building a foundation for your professional growth. It's about understanding yourself first, finding out where you are to where you want to be and what is missing, and then focusing on setting goals to fix what is missing, recognizing where you are already today as a leader.
Yes.
Yeah, which is
Yes.
why I said you can lead from any position, you can lead from everywhere. It's self-awareness that can help us to achieve that. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm.
My next question, which I like to ask every leader, is self-care.
Mhm.
Many leaders have struggled during this lockdown period, managing family responsibilities, work demands, and I'm always curious to know, how have you successfully managed this period, and what tips can you share with us on how you manage your mental health and self-care?
Yes, I mean, I think that I have learned to become very careful about how I manage my time. I mean, I book everything in my calendar now. I'm also much more selective about which meetings and activities I decide to accept. In lockdown, for example, me and my team worked even longer hours than normal, given the circumstances that UPS had to overcome on keeping logistics moving. But one thing that I tried to keep consistent through that was our family dinners as often as possible. Because for me, that was a way of rebalancing, connecting with my family. It didn't obviously work, every night. But for example, the weekend dinners were very sacred. And when we could, during the week that we did that. I also learned to lean on my husband a lot more, who is the hero in our family. And I'll just try to balance things up. If we're going to have dinner, and I'm still needing to work, well, then I'm going to wake up earlier in the day to try to get stuff done, right?
Yes.
I've also tried to make more room at the start of the day to really start in a positive and energetic note, and that's something that I've started, more recently, thinking about, what it is that I'm grateful for. What do I have? Thinking of others that are in difficult situations, and then also visualizing what do I need to get done that day, and ultimately what are my goals, and what am I going to do today to bring me towards those, what actions will I take to bring me towards those goals. So that's also been, a new thing that I've been doing most recently, that has really helped. And then just the little connections with the family and staying in tune, right?
Yes.
With them, I think has been very, very important.
Thank you for sharing those tips. And before I go to my last question, I will welcome, those who are watching us to please go ahead and type your question on the chat if you have any. So while I take this last question, I always like to end by asking Christina, what three, what three things, say like competence, support, uh, personal development, what are those things that have helped you to get to where you are today?
I would say first, having a vision and setting a goal.
Hmm.
I think that would be, number one is understanding. For me, it's been understanding what is it that I want. When I knew that I wanted to build a career with this company, and then I set a plan for myself, that's when, the road, the journey started. Um, then, it was taking action and personal development. So it's good to have that goal and that vision, but what are the actions that I need to do to build the competency and the experiences to achieve that vision? So action and personal development would be the second one.
Hmm.
Third would be my network and support that I've had. I know I took a lot of action on myself. I mean, that's a must. But I also had a tremendous amount of support. Some of that came through action, but I was very blessed to have that support, because I reached out for Ask for It, or I had others that were supporting me in the corner to help open doors. So those are the three things I think that have certainly been contributors to my success.
Wow, thank you. So the first one is a vision and your goal, taking action and personal development, and then the great support that you've had along your journey. So
Yes.
thank you so much for sharing those tips. And I hope that our audience have learned something today to continue to work on their leadership growth. It's work in progress. Leadership is a process, it's not a destination. And so we continue to grow, we continue to add value to other people through our leadership. And we also continue to add value to ourselves by learning more. I
Yes.
think, yeah, I believe so. Is there any other last thing, final thing you like to share?
No, I mean, I think we've touched on this in some of I know certainly Rise and Lead has touched on this, and I touched on this in the last, remark. Like you said, you don't need to wait for a title to become a leader, and you don't stop leading also once or growing once you're in that position. So a leader is someone that takes initiative to grow, to add value to their own life, to the business, to others. And I would just encourage everyone to take a look at what can you do, in your actions today or in your plan to be a leader in whatever way that is, right?
Wow, thank you. That's so amazing. Thank you for all your right answers. I really appreciate this conversation. I've also learned a lot from listening to you. And of course, we are going to be announcing some of the programs we're going to be running soon to help female entrepreneurs together with Rise and Lead Women and UPS Europe. And so our audience, if you want to rewatch this interview today, I'm still going to put it on LinkedIn, but not as live, but as recorded video, so that we don't disappoint those who were waiting to listen to it. I'm still going to put it up there at 4 p.m. today. The normal
Right.
time yes, we're going to download and put it back there. So I didn't see any question. Does anybody have any question before we let Christina go? You can actually unmute yourself and speak at this point if you do have a question. Just one or two questions. One is okay because of time. Anybody? You can unmute yourself if you have a question. Are you guys shy? So in that case, okay. Okay. Is it that they're shy or they have understood everything we've talked about? So, Christina, I want to say thank you so much for this time you've given to us and to our audience who will be watching on podcasts, because this is going to be on podcast by Monday, Spotify, iTunes, Google. One thing I think I want you to take away from here today is that mentorship and sponsorship are great tools that we need to advance to top leadership positions. And that you should remember that mentorship is simply by asking people for help, being able to ask from different people. You don't need just one mentor. You need so many people who you admire their style of leadership, and you can reach out to them and ask them to mentor you or to support you or to answer your questions. Those are all forms of mentorships. And for sponsorship, which we didn't really, I don't think we really went quite deep. I don't think I asked you how people can get sponsors. Do people get sponsors? Sorry that I have to ask this now. I'm also curious. Do people go to somebody and say, "Can you sponsor me?" Or is it just through relationships where people look at you, they see your potential, and they are invested in you to support you? Christina, what do you
I
think?
think both. I think, as I mentioned before, you always should do, what you can to make sure that you're exposing your capabilities to others in your network, right? Some of that comes from offering to help, to volunteer, some of just making them aware. And by that, then they see that the good work that you're doing, and would be willing, your name will come top of mind to them because they've just been exposed to your work. At other times, I mean, once you have a trusted relationship and you know that someone has had the opportunity of seeing you in action or benefiting from help that you provided, then you can also ask, hey, listen, I'm going forward for this position, I would appreciate your support, on an endorsing me. I think that's fine to ask too. But it starts, I mean, that's not something that you knock on out of the blue for. You have to have that trust that they believe and they've seen your competencies and actions, right? And that's where, again, that network comes so much in handy. And then just your daily action, right? To think that, you're always exposing yourself to network and what your what you're capable of, which can open up doors. So don't be shy to do it, and don't be shy to take action, right? That's leading.
Thank you for everybody joining us. Say bye. And Cristina, once again, I really appreciate your support for us, for Rise and Lead Women, and also for joining me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Barry. Thank you.